Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. So for today's class, we are going to enter a new topic, okay, which is about reproduction. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, guys. So reproduction is a process where uh, it is very important, okay, to increase the number of organism. Okay, at the same time, reproduction also can prevent from extinction of the species. Okay, so reproduction has two types. Okay, the first one is asexual reproduction, and the next one is sexual reproduction. Okay, so for today, we are going to study in detail about these two reproduction. Okay, so this is the point that you should know about sexual reproduction. Okay, so the first one we go for asexual reproduction. It involves only one parent organism. Okay, and all characteristic of this one parent are passed, okay, to all the offspring. So we can say that all the good and bad characteristic from the parent, okay, all, okay, not some, all of the good and bad characteristic from the parent will be passed to the offspring. And then asexual reproduction will produce genetically identical offspring from one parent. So it's mean that by doing asexual reproduction, the offspring will look exactly the same like their parent. And then, and the last one, many organisms reproduce asexually when the conditions are favorable. Okay, for example, when there is a plenty of food. Okay, so basically, they will do asexual reproduction when the condition is favorable. Okay, and build up the number quickly. Okay, so asexual reproduction basically it will take faster compared to sexual reproduction. Okay, so enough with asexual reproduction. Now we go for sexual reproduction. So this one you can see sexual reproduction involve two organisms, okay, of the same species but different gender. Okay, male and female. Okay, and then each individual, okay, male and female, they will produce sex cell, or the other terms you can use the words gamete. Okay, specifically for male they will produce sperm, female they will produce ovum. Okay, and then sexual reproduction always involve fertilization. Okay, as you know, when the sperm meet with the ovum, they will be fertilized. Okay, so that process is called fertilization, where there is a fusion of gamete to produce zygote. Okay, sperm and ovum, when they combine, okay, they become one cell. That cell is called zygote. And then offspring receive some gene from each parent and show a mixture of parental characteristic. Okay, unlike asexual reproduction, they will look exactly the same. Okay, but for sexual reproduction, okay, their gene, okay, half from the mother, half from the my father. That's why they don't look exactly the same, but they still have some of the gene from each parent. And the last one, each of the offspring is different to the offspring and to the parent. So it's mean that that's why your face, okay, may be quite different with your mother or your father. Okay, guys. So this is the information about other things. Okay. Basically, for asexual reproduction, they will use mitosis, but for sexual reproduction, they will do meiosis. Okay, I'm sure you guys used to learn, okay, about cell division. Cell division has two types. We have mitosis and meiosis. Okay, so you see here for sexual reproduction. Okay, so this is the parent cell. When the parent cell do mitosis, they will produce two offspring. This offspring is diploid like their parent. You see 2n. 2n means diploid. Okay, what does diploid mean is that it has the full set number of chromosome. Okay, that's why since it use mitosis, the number of chromosome will be the same like the parent. So that's why the offspring still the offspring still diploid. And then this offspring also will do another mitosis. Why? To increase the number of organism. Okay. So this is clone. All the cells are identical to each other. So that's why this offspring will look exactly the same like the parent. Okay, but for sexual reproduction, as you see here, this is diploid. Diploid cell in the testis and diploid cell in the ovary. So these two cells, they will do meiosis. So it will produce gamete. So since this is testis, so the testis will produce sperm. So this is sperm. Okay, sperm is haploid. You see here 2n. 2n mean diploid. Right now, since it undergo meiosis, it will become haploid. So that's why this one you only see only one n here. Okay. So this is one sperm. Okay, this is okay for ovary. Ovary also will do meiosis to produce what? Okay, so the ovary will produce ovum. So ovum also haploid. You see here haploid. Haploid gamete. Haploid means they have half set number of chromosome. Kalau diploid, it had full set. Kalau haploid, only half. Okay, so sperm and ovum, okay, they will combine together, and this process is known as a fertilization. So in the end, it will produce zygote, which is diploid. Okay, okay, let's continue. Okay, let me set up. Okay, okay, the next one. Okay, is it this one? Ni. Okay, guys. So the next one is about reproduction in flowering flower. Is it? Okay, wait. Oh, not this one. Sorry. Okay, let me change first. Mana? Yang ni. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, guys. So let's continue. Okay, sexual reproduction provides variation. Okay. So how this can happen? Because you see here. Okay, plant life cycle and human life cycle both show sexual reproduction. So basically, human and plant cell, they will carry sexual reproduction, where there is a fusion between male and female gamete. So male and female gamete, for sure, they carry different DNA. So when they combine together, this will produce variation. Okay. So sexual variation occur in all advanced organisms. Okay, however, such asexual reproduction also has its own advantage. So this is the advantage of asexual reproduction. Okay, so let's see. Okay, the first one, when a single plant arrive in a new habitat, it can occupy this habitat if many copies can be produced quickly. Okay, the main point here is that asexual reproduction can be done quickly as compared to sexual reproduction. And the last one, when the plant is well suited to its habitat, any variation might be disadvantageous. Okay. Okay, so this is the comparison between asexual and sexual reproduction. Okay, so let's see. Okay, for sexual reproduction, this is the advantage. Okay, the advantage only one parent needed. So you don't have you should not. It's okay if you don't have partner. And then rapid colonization of favorable condition. Okay, but the disadvantage, no variation. So any change in the environmental condition will affect all the individual. Okay, for sexual, okay, in terms of its advantage, it can produce variation. So new features of organism may allow adaptation to a new environment, but sexual reproduction also has its advantages. Okay, here you see two parent need. So make sure the parent is married. Okay. And then fertilization is random, so harmful variation can occur. So this is very dangerous. That's why sometimes sexual reproduction, if it occur incorrectly, it will produce the it will affect the offspring. Okay, guys. So let's continue. So here, if you use sexual reproduction, you will it will provide new varieties. So here you see different kind of plant can be produced. But if you use asexual reproduction, all the species will be the same. Okay. Okay, what is the best, okay, for growing crops? Is it sexual or asexual? Okay, for sexual, new varieties of plant can be developed. You see here, many species. This might be a better yield and tolerate dry condition, for example. But for asexual variety with useful features can be cloned to produce a large number of identical groups plant. Okay, so this is a interesting fact. Okay, you can read on your own. Okay, if you want to read it, you can pause the video. Okay, guys, so let's continue with the next one. Okay, let me find it. Okay, where is it? Oh, this one. Oops. Okay, wait. Oh, not this. Okay, okay. Mana ni? Okay, kejap Subhanallah, mana ni? Eh, alamak. Astagfirullah. Okay, kejap mana window ni? Okay. Okay, guys, so let's continue. Okay, the next one, we are going to learn about reproduction in flowering plant. Okay, so bear in mind, plant can do both. Okay, plant can do both. They can carry sexual and they also can carry asexual reproduction. So we go for sexual reproduction first. Okay, so flowering plant, okay, as their name suggested, are able, okay, to reproduce using highly adapted structure called flower. So what we can say that flower is a reproductive organ. Okay, flower is reproductive organ for the plant. Okay, that's why in the flower is, if you still remember, okay, it has stamen and pistil. Stamen is a male, okay, reproductive organs, while pistil is the female reproductive organ. Okay, so flowering plant will reproduce sexually. Okay, the following list show the stage that can be recognized in reproduction of flowering plant. So this is the features, okay, in sexual reproduction that happen in the plant. The first one, the young plant develop, okay, reproductive organ. Okay, this one specifically, the name of the organ is flower. Okay, and then sex cell gamete, okay, develop inside the reproductive organ. Okay, guys. So remember for the plant, okay, they use the term male gamete or female gamete. You cannot use the word uh, sperm, for example, in the flower, because sperm will be used, okay, in the human, not in the plant. Okay, you see here, the male sex cell or male gamete are transferred to the female sex cell or female gamete. Okay, you can use either term, or you want to use gamete or you want to use sex cell. They are the same. Okay, and then fertilization will occur since this is since this is sexual reproduction, it involves fertilization. Okay, so fertilization is a fusion of male and female sex cell to produce zygote. Okay, remember you should also mention about zygote. So I hope you guys still remember. Okay, and then when the zygote is formed, this zygote will develop. Okay, will grow into what? Into embryo. Okay, so this is when once the embryo is done with the growing, it will develop into a new young plant, and then the cycle will start all over again. Okay, just now we know that what this sexual reproduction involve the fusion of male and female gamete. So right now, once the embryo is produced, we should know how the gamete is carried. Okay, you see here, the animal move around freely where they are motile, but plant live in a fixed position. So how the plant can ensure the sexual reproduction can occur? So the first one, the male gamete, okay, may have be carried some distance to meet female gamete. And then young plant embryo may have to be carried some distance to get away from their parents. You see here. Okay. The next one, most of the plant are hermaphrodite. Ni sebut macam mana dah, cikgu pun lupa dah. Tak apalah, ni term dia. That is, they have male and female sexual part on the same individual. Maksudnya, in one plant, it has flower, right? Inside the flower, they have two types of reproductive organ. They have male and female reproductive organ at the same time, in the same individual. Dalam pokok yang sama. This means that the male gamete only have to travel in a short distance. Sebab dia daripada pokok yang sama, okay, so they have a short distance. Tengok ni. This is a plant, so the plant will grow into a young plant. Okay, so dia akan menghasilkan flower lah. So inside flower, okay, here you see, this is female reproductive organ. This is male reproductive organ. Male reproductive organ ni dia akan hasilkan what? Dia akan hasilkan pollen grain. And this pollen grain will be transferred, okay, from ni nama dia enter. Ingat lagi tak? This is enter. Aku besarkan sikit. Ni enter, ni adalah style. Ni adalah filament, sorry. This is filament, this is enter. Okay, okay, both of these are stamen. Okay, stamen. Stamen tu male reproductive organ. While this one is pistil. Pistil ni is a female reproductive organ. It has, what is this? Stigma, style, and the last one, ovary. So this is pollen grain. Pollen grain carry male gamete. So when we transfer pollen grain from here, from enter to stigma, this process is known as a pollination. Pollination occur when male gamete are transferred to the female part of the flower, specifically to the anther. So what happened? Male gamete fuse with female gamete at fertilization. So kat sini bila Bila apa? Bila pollen grain land on the stigma, the male gamete can travel down to meet whom? To meet female gamete. To meet female gamete. So when they meet each other, they will do fertilization. Okay, fertilization will produce zygote, and zygote develop into embryo. And then what happened? Following fertilization, a fruit developed from female parts of the flower. The fruit contains seed structure to help to move the seed away from the parent plant. Okay, so bila seed tu dihasilkan, seed will be dispersed. Okay, dispersed by some agent. It could be animal, okay, it could be wind or so, or whatever. Okay, so once the seed, okay, is carried to a suitable condition, a suitable place, they will germinate. Okay, they will germinate and they will develop into another young plant. Okay, this is how plant cycle looks like. Okay, okay guys, so let's continue. Okay, let me open. Okay, sorry. Mana ni? Okay, this one. Okay guys, so the next one we are going to talk about the formation of the flower. Macam mana tu? Okay, a flower is a form from a bud, okay, which is a collection of cells at the end of flower stalk. Okay, the cell receive a hormone message from a main part of body and gradually develop into 4 ring of specialized leaf, okay, which is flower. Okay, these have the sole function of forming sex cell and make sure the fertilization occur. Okay, bear in mind fertilization will happen in the flower. Okay, now this structure will show to you about okay the flower. Okay, the whole thing here is flower. Okay, so now we go one by one. Okay, okay guys, so the first one you see here, this is style. Okay, this is style, this is stigma, this is ovary. Okay, this is ovary. Lepas tu kita ada ni stamen. Tengok ni. And then we have ni apa? Nama dia adalah filamen. Okay, yang panjang ni. Okay, nama dia filamen. Okay, we go one by one. Okay, we go for the female part first. Okay, kalau female part ni nama dia adalah couple. Ni couple. Ni adalah pandangan atas. Okay, ni dia pandangan atas ni. Ni cross section ni. Okay. So, couple. Ingat couple is a female part of the flower. Okay, so couple ni it has 3 things which are stigma, ni stigma, lepas tu dia ada style and the last one it has ovary. Okay, so apa fungsi dia? Okay, pertama sekali stigma, a platform on which pollen grain will land. Ni di sini, this is the place where the pollen grain will land. Pollen grain tu apa cikgu? Pollen grain tu lah yang bawa male gamete. Okay, lepas tu style. Style apa fungsi dia? A stalk which hold a stigma in the best position to receive pollen grain. So basically the function of style is to hold the stigma. Okay, and then the next one is ovary. It's a hollow chamber. The ovule develop, okay, from the wall of ovary. So this is ovary. So inside ovary there is an ovule. Dalam ovule tu lah ada female gamete. Okay. Okay, enough with the couple. Next we go for the stamen. Stamen is a male parts of flower. So it has 2 things. 2 saja. Which are stamen apa aku ni? Which are stamen and also which are anther and also filamen. Ni anther and filamen. Ingat stamen ni nama besar dia. Tapi dia consist of anther and filamen. You see here. Kita besarkan sikit So this is anther. Okay, why anther is very important? Because it contain 4 pollen sac filled with pollen grain. So maksudnya dalam pollen dalam anther ni lah ada pollen grain. Kenapa pollen grain is important? Because it carry male gamete. Kenapa male gamete penting? Sebab male gamete itulah yang akan fuse dengan female gamete. Kenapa penting pula benda tu? Sebab nak menghasilkan a new organism. Okay, and then ni awak tengok yang panjang ni. So this is filament. Apa fungsi filament? To hold the anther. Untuk pegang anther. Kalau anther jatuh. Boleh faham? Okay, and then the rest of it is just a part of the flower. Okay, the first one is sepal. Sepal, petal. Petal tu kelopak bunga. Ni petal. Petal. Kelopak bunga itulah yang berwarna-warni. Ada warna merah, warna biru, kuning dan sebagainya. And then sepal ni yang macam ada daun sikit ni. Sepal are a green and protect flower bud and usually disappear after pollination. Lepas tu ni flower stalk. Ni batang dia Okay, base for the four set of the floral leaf. Okay, can you understand? Okay guys, so let's continue. Ni apa pula ni? Ni awak tengok ni. Each plant species has its own uniquely shaped pollen grain. So pollen grain ni ada banyak jenis lah. Ada yang bulat dan sebagainya. Scientists can find out about the vegetation that once exists in a particular area by collecting and studying the pollen grain released 1,000 years ago. Ni fun fact je. Okay, so ni pula apa ni? This is ovary wall. Ni ada ovule. Dalam ovule itulah ada ovum. Okay, ovum is a female gamete. Okay guys, so as you can see here, this is an exercise for you to remember, okay, the parts of the plant and its function. Okay, this one maybe we can do later on. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay guys, the next one is about pollination. It's about pollination. Okay. Mana ni? This one. Okay, let's make it bigger. Okay. So what is pollination? Okay, so I just want to revise once again if you don't remember. This is couple. Tadi cikgu cakap pistil kan? Okay, pistil dengan couple benda yang sama tapi dalam IG dia guna the words couple. Couple is a female parts of the plant. Okay, dalam couple ada siapa? Ada ni. Ini apa nama dia? Nama dia adalah stigma. Ni. Apa fungsi stigma? The function of stigma is to receive pollen grain. Ini apa? Yang ini adalah style. Fungsi apa style? Style fungsi dia adalah untuk hold the stigma. And then this is ovary. Dalam ovary ada ovule. Dalam ovule ada female gamete ataupun ovum. So what does pollination means? Pollination is a process where ni, awak tengok, this is anther, this is filament. These two are known as a stamen. Stamen is a male reproductive plant organ. Okay, so anther ni dia akan hasilkan pollen grain. Dalam pollen grain tu lah ada ada male gamete. So pollination is a process where pollen grain yang ada male gamete tu will be transferred from anther to the stigma. Boleh faham? Okay. Ni awak tengok sini. For sexual reproduction to occur, male gamete must be transferred to the female part. And this process is known as a pollination. Ni. A transfer may come about within the same flower or from another flower. Okay. So, I want to highlight here once again. Pollination is a process where pollen grain is transferred from anther to the stigma. Okay. And then you should know that pollination has two types. Ada dua jenis pollination kat sini. Okay. The first one is self-pollination. Yang kedua adalah cross-pollination. I'm sure you guys already learned during PT3, right? In science. The subject that you get A, right, for science? Oh, awak tak ambil PT3 kan? Lupa pula. Okay, bye. So for pollination, remember there are two types. We have self-pollination and we have cross-pollination. Kalau self-pollination ni, it's happen within the same plant. Plant ni berlaku kat sini saja. Sebab apa? We know that plant, it has both male and female gamete. So bila pollen grain is transfer from anther to the stigma of the same plant, we can say that it is self-pollination sebab dia berlaku sesama dia. Tapi if the pollen grain is transferred from anther to the stigma of another flower of the same species, okay, this is known as a cross pollination. Ada dua, self dengan cross pollination. Boleh faham? Okay. Okay, kita tengok sini. Tengok sini. Okay, cross pollination offer many advantages, and some species make sure that is happening. Okay, some of the special protein on a surface of a stigma that prevent pollen tube forming if the pollen come from anther of the same. Ni apa benda tadi cakap tak nak apa kot. In some plant, the anther and the stigma are so far away from one another in the flower that it's not easy for the pollen to travel from the anther to stigma of the same flower. Okay. A few plants such as ash, apa tadi, has separated male and female parts. So this is like the situation that can prevent self-pollination. Okay, sebab apa awak tengok anther and stigma dia jauh. Bila jauh, it's very hard for the pollen grain to land. Okay, from anther to stigma from the same species. Okay. So that's why they have to use the help from the agent, pollinating agent. Okay, kat sini pollinating agent ada dua, wind and also insect. Tengok. Okay, whether self or cross pollination occurs, some agent or vector is needed. Okay, to carry pollen grain. Okay, from the anther to stigma. Okay, you see here, pollen grain ni dia nak bergerak daripada anther kepada stigma. So sometimes it required, okay, the pollinating agent. Okay, so tengok kat sini. Okay, so flower show many adaptation to successful insect pollination or wind pollination. So some of the insect act as a pollinator. Okay, have to become adapted to make the most of their relationship with the flower. Okay, so basically the flower will produce nectar, okay, to attract the insect. Okay, bila insect tu pergi kat flower, the pollen grain will be attached atau will be stick on the leg. And then when that insect travel to another flower, this pollen grain will land on the stigma. So this can encourage, okay, cross pollination. Ni awak tengok ni. Okay, so cross pollination is way better, okay, because it can promote variation. Okay guys, so let's continue. Okay, ni cikgu ambil gambar je. Okay, the next one. This one. Ni apa ni? Wind pollinated flower. Okay, wind pollinated flower. Okay, so basically this is the example of flower that will use wind as their pollinator. Ni awak tengok, wind pollinated flower are often produced at the colder times of the year when very few insects are flying. Okay. So tengok kat sini. Sekali dia ada tiny petal. Dia ada petal yang kecil. Untuk apa? To help to push the brag parts to expose stigma and stamen. So bila dia kecil, maksudnya this will expose, okay, the anther and filament. So bila anther and filament dan juga stigma are exposed, okay, so we know that the wind will blow, right? Will blown. Okay, so the pollen grain, okay, can easily be blown by the wind. Okay. Lepas tu awak tengok ni filament dia. Filament long and flexible. Bila panjang filament ni maksudnya dia akan menyebabkan anther tu is exposed to the environment. Bila anther is exposed to environment, so bila angin tiup, it's easy for the pollen grain to be dispersed. And then pollen grain ni dia light, ringan and produce in a huge quantity. Kita kena hasilkan dalam kuantiti yang besar. Okay, to help transfer with the wind. Okay, and then for your information, wind pollinated flower basically they has no nectar ataupun scent. Sebab apa? They don't have to attract insect. Selalunya dia hasilkan nectar dan juga scent ni untuk attract the insect. Since okay, the wind has no feeling. Maksudnya angin kan benda yang tak perlukan tarikan. So this wind pollinated flower does not produce okay, nectar ataupun scent. Okay, so basically this is the example of the flower that use wind as a pollinator. Okay, yang ni apa pula ni? This is the comparison, okay, between flower that use insect or that use wind as their pollinator. Tengok petal dia okay, kita pergi pada insect pollinated dulu. Petal tu kelopak bunga tu kan. Kalau insect pollinated flower, usually the petal are bright. Okay, brightly color yang cerah dan juga besar. Okay. And often with nectaries. Nectaries tu maksudnya dia akan menghasilkan madu. Okay, tapi kalau wind pollinated flower, usually the petal is small, green, dull in color. No scent, no nectaries. Okay, ni reason dia. Insect, okay, are attracted to the color and scent. Sebab itulah flower yang guna insect pollinated flower ni, dia kena ada madu, dia kena besar dan dia kena cantik supaya this can attract the insect. Okay, kalau anther, anther tu yang mana cikgu? Ni anther ni. Anther dengan filament tu kan, stamen tu. So kalau anther, kalau insect pollinated flower stay firmly attached and position where the insect must brush against them. Okay, dia kena firm attached. Sebab apa nanti? Okay, this will make the insect okay can stick their pollen grain. Tapi kalau wind pollinated flower hang loosely on long thin filament. Maksudnya dia terdedah lah kepada udara kat situ dan dia juga panjang. Wind, okay, reason dia wind is more likely to dislodge okay, pollen from expose. So bila enter to expose to the air, so when the wind blow, okay, it also can blow the pollen grain yang ada dalam enter. Sebab enter ni ada apa? Ada pollen grain. And then pollen, in term of pollen grain, you can use either pollen or pollen grain, they are the same. Okay, in term of pollen, you see here, kalau insect pollinated flower ni, they are large, the small amount of large. Okay, and then sticky. Kenapa sticky? Sebab dia nak attach to the leg. And then they are wind pollinated. Okay, kalau wind pollinated, okay, they are produced enormous quantity. Dia dihasilkan dalam kuantiti yang banyak. Okay, and smooth and light. Kecil, ringan. Okay. Okay, sticky grain attached to the hair of the insect body. The larger amount of wind means pollination is more likely. Okay, they want to increase the probability of pollination to happen. And the last one is stigma. Okay, stigma yang mana cikgu? Stigma yang ni ya. Yang female tu. Yang atas tu. Kalau insect pollinated flower, they usually flat and loop shape and position where the insect must brush against them. The stigma ni dia mesti will able the insect, okay, to brush them. So apa dia nak letak apa pollen grain kan? And then wing pollinated ni dia has long and feathery and hanging outside the flower. Dia terdedah kat luar. Okay, the feathery stigma form a large network to catch the pollen and being blown past the flower. Okay guys, let's continue a little bit. Okay, we go for the fertilization. Okay, let me open it. Okay guys, so just now we study about pollination. Now the next process is fertilization, because we know that pollination is a process to transfer pollen grain from anther to the stigma. Now pollen grain is already attached on the stigma. Okay, so it means that the male gamete is successfully, okay, taken to the stigma. Now we have to make sure the male gamete travel down to meet female gamete. So that process is called fertilization. Kita tengok Okay, so pollination will come, will happen first and then fertilization. Ni awak tengok ni. Pollination is complete once the pollen is released from anther has landed on the stigma of the same or another flower. Okay, the next step is fertilization, where there is a fusion of male and female gamete to produce zygote. Okay, the diagram on the right show how the nucleus from pollen grain travel down to a pollen tube to combine with the nucleus of the ovum. Okay, awak tengok kat sini So right now we know that the pollen grain already land. Okay, already land on the stigma. So what happened? Awak tengok ni. Pollen grain. Chemical signal released by stigma to ensure the pollen tube is only produced when the pollen land on the stigma of the same flower. So bila pollen grain land on the stigma, this will encourage the development of pollen tube. Ni pollen tube ni yang ni. Ni awak tengok yang warna kuning ni. Okay, so this pollen tube basically it will grow down through the style and act as a channel to deliver male gamete from pollen grain to the female gamete in the ovule. So when the pollen grain land on the stigma, the pollen tube will develop and this pollen tube will grow down until it reach ovary. So this will make a way for the male gamete to travel down to meet whom? To meet ovum. Boleh faham? Okay, lepas tu apa jadi? Ni awak tengok ni. Okay, fertilization occur when haploid male and female gamete fuse to form zygote. So here you see, once the male gamete, okay, fertilize with the female gamete in the ovule, they will produce diploid zygote. Okay. Fertilization also triggers some other cell in the ovule to divide rapidly and form food store inside the seed. Okay. Okay, yang ni boleh baca sendirilah. Ni awak tengok ni. Formation of fruit and seed. Okay, after male nucleus fuse with ovum, this will produce embryo. This will produce zygote. Okay, and then what happen? This zygote, it will divide many times. Okay, ataupun awak cakap the zygote will grow into what? Into embryo. Okay, so the development of seed and structure of the embryo are described. Okay, now tengok ni. Once fertilization is completed, the development of seed send a hormone message to the flower and the number of change take place. So bila fertilization is complete, maksudnya bila bila male and female gamete fuse together, this will happen. The first one, the sepal and petal, okay, wither away and may fall off. Okay, and then what happen? The stamen, stigma and style will wither away. Dia pun akan ni lah, dia akan takkan digunakan lah, dia akan layu. Okay, and then what happened? This structure have now completed the new function and would use up the variable food compounds where it's remain. The wall of ovary change, it may become hardened and dry, fleshy, succulent, and the wall flower it form the leathery pouch. Okay, so ovary ni, ni awak tengok ovary. Okay, you remember after fertilization, this ovary will become fruit. And then ovule tu, bahagian ovule tu dia akan jadi seed. Awak tengok. Okay, a fruit is a fertilized ovary and has function of dispersing the seed away from the parent plant and which help to reduce the competition of light, water and mineral. Okay. Ni awak tengok ni. The stage of development of fruit. Tomato flower. Okay, petal are still obvious. Okay, after fertilization, the petal have fallen off. The stigma style have withered and the couple is beginning to swell. Okay, so this is the example of what happened once the fertilization is done. Okay, the next one. Okay, let's continue. Okay, sekejap . Okay guys, so here formation of seed and fruit following fertilization. Awak tengok ni. Okay, the ovary wall become dry and hard. Okay, very soft and fleshy. Okay, maksudnya bahagian ovary ni dia akan jadi fruits kan. Fertilized ovule will develop into seed. Okay, dia akan jadi seed. With zygote forming embryo. Okay, yang ni akan jadi seed. Dalam seed tu lah ada zygote dan embryo. Okay guys, so this is seed, right? So right now, this ovule becomes seed. So this is the compartment that you should know about seed. Ni biji benih ni. So the outermost layer is called seed coat ataupun testa. Okay, kat luar sekali biji tu nama dia adalah testa. Apa fungsi dia? To prevent drying out of embryo. Okay. And then ataupun to protect lah. Okay, to protect the embryo. Okay, lepas tu dia ada apa lagi? Ni cotyledon. Cotyledon ni penting sebab apa? It store nutrient. Kenapa kena store nutrient? Because this seed need to be grow from what to what? To grow larger lah. Okay, from seed kita tanam dia akan jadi pokok, betul tak? So in order to grow, they should have energy. Energy tu datang daripada mana? Datang daripada cotyledon. Why? Because cotyledon will store the food. And the food will be used, okay, to gain energy for grow. Ni awak tengok ni. This is one seed leaf in monocotyledon, such as grower. Okay, tapi kalau dicotyledon, dia ada dua. Tapi yang ni adalah ni cotyledon kan. Okay, lepas tu endosperm. A tissue which form a food store. Okay. Lepas tu dia ada premiole, dia ada radicle. So bila dia membesar, premiole ni akan grow as a shoot, pucuk. Radicle ni, yang bawah ni, dia akan grow as a root. And the last one is macropyle. Ni small hole ni in the testa which allow the entry of water and oxygen as the seed germinate. Because we know that seed will germinate, right? Germinate tu maksudnya pokok tu dia nak membesar. Daripada biji benih dia nak jadi pokok. Itu maksudnya. So in order to germinate, they should have water and oxygen. So water and oxygen will enter through this hole ataupun through macropyle. Okay, can you understand? Okay, this one, okay, you read on your own, okay? This one is just fun fact. Okay, let's continue. Now we go for the how germination process happen. Tengok ni. Okay, germination of seed. Okay. So, what is germination? Ni awak tengok ni. Okay, germination is a process where the seed, okay, biji tu, it will grow into a young plant. Okay, I repeat again. Germination is a process where the seed will grow into young plant lah. Okay, so this is how it's happened. Before you know, you have to know, before that, you should know what is the condition required for germination. Okay, so these are the important things that the plant should have in order to germinate. Okay, the first one, the supply of water, and then they should have oxygen. Okay, they should have oxygen for aerobic respiration. Respiration tu akan menghasilkan tenaga. Tenaga itulah digunakan untuk germination, untuk membesar. And the last one, suitable temperature. Okay, suitable temperature. Tak boleh terlalu panas, tak boleh terlalu sejuk. Okay, they should have a suitable temperature to germinate. Okay, jom kita tengok macam mana dia germinate ni. Tengok ni. Okay guys, so let's start. Now tengok ni. Okay, so this is a seed. Dia ada testa, dia ada embryo, dia ada macropyle, dia ada food store ataupun yang ni nama dia sebagai cotyledon. Ingat lagi tak cotyledon cikgu cakap tadi? It will store the food. This is dormant seed. Okay, dormant maksudnya adalah dia inactive. Dormant tu inactive. So macam mana kita nak aktifkan dia? Kita nak aktifkan dia, kita siram dia dengan air. Okay. So macam mana? Pertama sekali aku tengok in a dormant seed, the embryo and food store are surrounded by impermeable seed coat. And this macropyle is the only gap in the seed coat. Ni ada macropyle, lubang yang membenarkan oksigen dan water. Okay, so what happened? So bila kita siram, when we put the water on the seed, okay, the water will enter through macropyle and this will activate the enzyme. Dia akan activate enzyme. Then this enzyme will be used to digest. Digest apa? Pertama sekali, digest starch into glucose. And the next one, it will digest protein into amino acid. Why this is important? Ni kita nak belajar ni. Awak tengok. Okay. Lepas tu awak kena ingat enzyme works at their optimum temperature. That's why kat sini condition dia adalah suitable temperature. Okay. Kita kena gunakan suitable temperature so that the enzyme become active. Kenapa enzyme kena aktif? Sebab enzyme tu lah akan digest starch dan juga protein into glucose and amino acid respectively. Okay. Lepas tu glucose and amino acid tu digunakan untuk apa? Awak tengok ni. Okay, so tengok ni, water and oxygen enter through the gaps of testa. Okay, water dah masuk tadi kan. Sekarang ni oxygen pula masuk. Kenapa oxygen kena masuk? Sebab oxygen diperlukan untuk aerobic respiration. Okay, so glucose plus oxygen, it will produce energy. Boleh faham? Ni, oxygen and glucose enable aerobic respiration which release energy. So energy tu digunakan untuk apa? Untuk embryo to be able to grow as it receive a raw material and energy. So embryo ni lah dia akan membesar menjadi apa? menjadi akar, menjadi shoot, menjadi leaf dan sebagainya. Okay, can you understand? Okay, jom kita baca sikit lah. Yang warna kuning ni. Environment factor that affect germination are very similar to those that affect enzyme activity. And this indicate the germination is a process controlled by the enzyme. Tengok ni. Dormancy. Dormancy to inactive condition will continue if the embryo in the seed does not experience the right condition. Okay, oxygen and water cannot reach embryo if the testa remain impermeable. So maksudnya if the testa tu dia impermeable, oxygen dengan water tak boleh masuk. Okay, sebab dia block dekat micropyle tu. Okay, boleh faham? Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, where is it? Okay, this one. Okay guys, so let's continue. So this is the last page of today. Okay, dormancy. Dia nak cakap apa ni? Tengok. Okay, dormancy. Yang cakap inactive condition tu. If a seed does not experience ideal condition for germination immediately, it will not die. Okay, but most seed can survive a long period of poor condition, only germinating when the condition improve. So it mean that if the condition yang kita bincang tadi 3, dia kena ada oxygen, water dan juga stable temperature. It's okay for them if these 3 condition are not suitable for them, they can still survive. Okay. Okay, this seed survives in a resting state called dormancy. Maksudnya dormancy ni adalah seed tu tak germinate tapi dia stay alive but inactive. Okay, during which they hardly find any food. Okay, this is the condition when they practice dormancy. Pertama sekali when they use when the water content is very low. Okay. Okay, and the availability of water is one of the condition that allow the seed to escape dormancy and germinate. So maksudnya bila ada air tu, dia akan stop dormancy and then they will germinate lah. Okay, the structural change during germination. Awak tengok kat sini. Okay, so this is the one. Okay, awak tengok yang kat sini. Okay, number 1, number 2 until number 5. Okay, so number 1 what happened? The radical will emerge first. Maksudnya yang akan memberi respon pertama adalah radical lah. So it will anchor the seedling in the soil and start to absorb water and minerals ion. So this radical, it will exit the seed using through micropyle. So what it will do is that it will anchor the soil and absorb the water and mineral salt. Sebab apa? Radical ni lah akan jadi root nanti. So root kan fungsi dia untuk absorb water, betul tak? And then what happen? Primule pula. Tadi primule jadi apa? Primule akan jadi shoot, betul tak? Shoot tu lah akan jadi stem dan juga leaf. The primule emerge as testa is split away from the cotyledon. And the hook, shoot protects the young leaf from damage by the soil structure. And then bear in mind this primule it will grow upward. Sebab apa? Shoot ni mesti kena keluar daripada tanah. Kan kita tanam biji benih kan dalam tanah kan. That's why this primule it will grow upward. Dia akan membesar ke atas. Okay, cotyledon visible through split testa. So testa ni dah tak ada kan. So kita boleh nampak dah cotyledon. Cotyledon tu lah yang simpan makanan tu kan. And then what happened? Primule emerge above ground and start to strengthen out. So dia akan naik ke atas. Okay, so and then primule state, and then hold the leaf upward. So at this stage, awak tengok ni dah ada leaf dah. So once it have leaves, it can carry photosynthesis. So it means that they can stop relying on the cotyledon. Sebab cotyledon ni lah akan bagi makanan kan. Makanan digunakan untuk tenaga. Sekarang ni once the leaf is produced, they will start doing photosynthesis. For photosynthesis akan menghasilkan apa? Menghasilkan nutrien makanan kan. So they will rely on photosynthesis rather than cotyledon at this stage. Okay. Ni awak tengok ni. Ni. The broad bean show hypogeal germination. Hypogeal germination means it will germinate below the ground. Maksudnya dia akan grow di bawah tanah lah. Okay, kalau ni macam ni. Seedling must start to photosynthesize. Okay, before all the food storage are used up. So maksudnya kita kena pastikan proses photosynthesis itu boleh berlaku sebelum makanan, food that contain in the cotyledon is all used up. Okay. Bila dah use up, kalau leaf tu tak dapat dihasilkan lagi, tak boleh buat photosynthesis, tu nak dapat makanan kat mana? Makanan dah habis dah dekat cotyledon. Okay guys. Ni awak tengok ni. Germination of a broad bean. Okay, dry mass is used, okay, as a measure of a food store because wet mass would include water absorbed from the soil and the amount of water absorbed and lost can vary greatly. So kalau this is the mass of the seed lah. If you notice, okay, lama kelamaan dia akan fall down, dry mass dia tu. Sebab apa? Sebab most of the food, okay, will be used to grow, untuk membesar. Tapi at one point, dia akan naik balik. Sebab apa? Sebab at this particular time, okay, they can do photosynthesis. Bila they do photosynthesis, they gain more energy. Gain more energy is mean that they can grow larger, they can grow bigger. Sebab itulah dia akan meninggi. Dry mass dia makin besar. Okay. Okay guys, so I think that's all for today's lesson. Okay, so I hope you guys can understand. If you don't understand, please repeat this video and you can pause, okay, and copy all the note, okay, from here. Okay, so make sure you guys write down your name, class, and question, okay. I want one student, one question, okay. So I think that's all for today. So I see you on the next class. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum.